Well, listen, I mean, maybe it's no one else is jumping in at this point, so I don't know. Maybe is it just to make sure we're not keeping anyone unnecessarily? Is it better that we go ahead and kick off? And people are going to come in a couple minutes late, I'm sure, but no reason to hold up, I feel.
Let's go then. Yes.
All right. So for everyone that's joining, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Daniel Atz. I'm the founder of Lux Citizenship. Most of you I've had the pleasure of working with. A few of you are new names. We have people joining us in theory from Brazil, although everyone here so far is from the United States. It's a real pleasure for me to present to you today my good friend Pascal and his colleague Pratiksha from HEC Liège, Luxembourg. And HEC Liège is a business school actually in Liège, Belgium, which now also has the program in Luxembourg, and they're going to explain much more clearly than I could about that dynamic. So we're planning on about 15 minutes of presentation, generally about the executive education programs that are in Luxembourg, and then we would go pretty much directly to question and answers. We're going to ask initially here just to, because we have the various people connected, as they're presenting, and generally there is a chat function at the bottom of your screen. So if you have questions that come up during the presentation or afterwards, once we enter into the question and answer section, please first use the chat to pose any questions. And then, if you'd like to talk directly, we're happy to unmute you and have you talk directly with the two of them. So without further ado, I will switch it over to you, Pascal.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Greetings, everyone. And again, thank you for those who really are raising early in the morning. So greetings from Luxembourg. Pratiksha and I are sitting in Luxembourg, as is Daniel, by the way. So my name is Pascal Wiskockanter. I am a Luxembourger who spent 20 years abroad. So I'm a little bit of a curiosity here. And I thought before we dive into introducing HEC or HEC, which probably for Americans, you might compare a little bit to Kellogg's. I mean, also in the strategy of being in different places and focusing on business. And I happen to be an alumni from HEC. The headquarters are based in Belgium, but that's pure chance, really. And so I've been traveling in different places in the world. I was in Monaco, I was in the US, I was in California and in New York, and then back in Luxembourg. Maybe Pratiksha, if you want to share the screen, and we can start to show a few slides that we prepared for you. We thought we might want to give you a perspective. So what happened to me, because after 20 years I came back, and it was courtesy of COVID that the lockdown kept me here when I thought I would go back to the US. And I lived for a year the life of an expat here, where you discover when things can be really different than when you have been here all the time in Luxembourg. So I've come to experience a few things that I wanted to share, because basically they can put into perspective also whatever plans you have of coming and visiting Luxembourg, or perhaps that some of you thought of staying in Luxembourg, living here, working here, and what it means. That's going to be then the presentation. Pratiksha gives you what it means to go through an executive education in Luxembourg that we also have. So yeah, maybe next slide, Pratiksha. Luxembourg is kind of a multicultural fortress. So yes, it is very multicultural. We have numerous different nationalities, but at the same time, it's a fortress, and often people are like puzzled by that. And the explanation is very simple. It's been 1,000 years in the making, but it's only existed for 150 years, meaning culturally Luxembourgers never were a nation and were longing to be something, and they just got always invaded by some other population somewhere, some other adventure, and so they were never really what they are today, which is also why the motto is we want to stay what we are, which might be very surprising because you could expect that things need to change all the time, but that's the explanation. So there's kind of a contradiction in the appearance that it is a very open nation, and at the same time the Luxembourgers are very much among themselves because of this sense of belonging, and because they've been longing to exist, you have this paradox. And then that also leads to the fact that not being a huge country, I mean, we do have about 600,000 inhabitants, half of them are Luxembourgers, and even less are really what they call now legacy Luxembourgers. And so often they know each other. And there's this joke that is true, that everyone knows everybody, and whatever you're going to do and go, at some stage, you'll just meet someone who knows your neighbor or a brother-in-law or whatever. Next slide, please. There we go. So my story, as I said, I was the last thing the last place I worked before coming back was New York, and we worked a lot there with the consulate and also what they call the LTIO, Luxembourg Trade and Investment Office, where you promote basically Luxembourg abroad. And we had organized a kind of a fancy event there for national holiday, Luxembourg. And we wanted to explain to people there in New York who really didn't know much about Luxembourg. And the only thing that you might get was, oh yeah, it's a financial center, or even worse, a tax haven. So we tried to show them that it's much more than that. And it's not a tax haven, by the way, or no more. So the background story is basically that this place went from potato planting to space mining. So obviously in the early days, it was just agriculture and farming, which is probably also where some of your great grandfather or mother or whatever were busy doing. And just like it's known in Ireland in the 1840s to 1860s, a lot, actually 20% of the population of Luxembourg left. Many went to the US, to Brazil, and some to Argentina, because there was just famine and they couldn't eat anymore. And then the next thing that came up when they discovered steel and coal, then you had the coal industry, which has been booming for really until the 1970s. And then that really went downhill pretty quickly. And the luck and probably also the visionary of some of the politicians in Luxembourg was to say, let's try and find something else, which was back then banking and finance, and that grew really a lot. And then they learned to say, look, we've had now this case that we depended on one sector. This shouldn't happen anymore. We have to diversify as much as we can. And that's when they started to go into all sorts of things. So believe it or not, but we have a maritime register. That's actually where I started my first startup, where we registered mega yachts on the Luxembourg flag, and we had like 3 to 4% of the world fleet at some stage. Then they've launched also initiatives in the entertainment. So there's a number of movies that you see that have been produced via or in Luxembourg you wouldn't even be aware. Like one of the last famous ones was Phantom Menace with Daniel Day-Lewis. Logistics is a pretty big thing too. Fintech, they're pushing very, very hard, having this financial background and then attracting startups. And so that was a very obvious one. They're also hoping to become a startup nation, which is a word you hear very often. We have only 500 startups today, but really it is something that where lots of efforts and resources are being put into. And then, yeah, eventually they came up really with the idea to say, let's go to space. The funny fact, or the fun fact, is that Luxembourg and the United States are the two only countries that have a legislation that actually allows to go into space and colonize or go and do space mining. So that's why they really bet a lot on that. Another interesting aspect about Luxembourg, which also ties into this paradox of belonging in Luxembourg, is that on one hand, they're very open-minded and they do know that the whole economy relies on people from abroad. And you see, we have 118 nationalities, very much what is called here in French, grande région, or the broader region, if you want, is literally to say we have Luxembourg, and then you have the Belgians and the French and the Germans. And you know that Luxembourg is really like, what, 60 per 40 kilometers. So you probably take a circle of 60 to 80 kilometers, and some people are commuting every day coming in, just like for those who who are familiar, like you have that in New York, people coming from outside of New York City, from New Jersey and so on. So there's a similar thing. And basically, again, for those who know, but I lived in New York, and it struck me that the way New Yorkers look down at New Jersey and the way New Jersey is looking at the New Yorkers saying, yeah, they're not super nice. That sometimes happens here between those frontaliers, the ones coming from Belgium, France, Germany, and the Luxembourgers. There's kind of a very similar attitude. And so the thing that now is interesting is that every 10 years they have done this counting of the population. And so as you can see, 10 years ago, there were 43% foreigners. Now it's 47. And so latest, but probably before 2031, we're going to have more than 50% of foreigners. So that's great because it adds to the diversity, but it's also at the same time making the more core or hardcore Luxembourgers a bit nervous to say, are we losing our identity and will we not anymore be what we want to be? So that's one of the dynamics that might explain when you come certain reactions. I realized that coming from abroad, being proud Luxembourgers, you might say, okay, they'd be happy to see us coming. And sometimes they just don't know really what to do with it because it's not completely ingrained. So this, like for instance, Daniel uses the term of Luxembourg diaspora, which I find very interesting because I never heard it before here, because there's not yet this awareness. And like I explained, being a Luxembourger that was 20 years away and then came back and experienced getting back to Luxembourg almost like an expat, I feel that this is a little bit of my mission to try to see how I can bring those two communities closer together and how I can help in a way or in another for Luxembourgers from the world to come either visit or just come back to Luxembourg. Next slide. So the way I perceive it is that basically it's like onion rings. So you will have the outer world, and then you're going to have probably Europe, and then you're going to have the countries around Luxembourg, and then these frontaliers, which are really the ones that cross the border every day to come and work. And then you have also these foreign communities, which are attracted initially with the European Union. I mean, there's a lot of are based in Luxembourg, so that has attracted a lot of people, but also banking and other activities. And then you have the Luxembourgers, and now you start to see a phenomenon where you could say we have the historical Luxembourgers, like literally you mean that's the family that's been around for 200 or 300 or more years, and then legacy Luxembourgers, where you almost could split in two categories. You have like Luxembourgers with an Italian name because their grandparents came 100 years ago and have stayed, and now these Italians have become Luxembourgers, true Luxembourgers. Not only did they take on the nationality, but they've grown here. And then you have these legacy Luxembourgers, which are the ones, and that's not including people that became Luxembourgers because they were descendant of Luxembourgers, but really people that came from another country, lived 10, 20, 30 years here and just chose to stay and become Luxembourgers. So they are Luxembourgers, but for the core Luxembourgers, they are not always perceived as such, because it's probably then, unlike the United States, where at some stage you just get completely integrated, you're an American citizen wherever you're coming from. In Luxembourg, it takes a bit more time until that kind of a fusion does happen. So these are kind of a few elements that I thought might be helpful to share, because obviously when you choose to come and live in Luxembourg, and even more so when you choose to work here, these are things that will be you will be noticing it as you live here or as you work here. And when you know it, you can actually serve it. I mean, those people who get the rules can really blossom here and be, I mean, you meet a lot of people that are very, very happy. Sometimes you meet some people that are not so happy because, yeah, if either you didn't get this kind of background story or you're not happy with it, then obviously it's not as easy. Okay, now I think I'm passing over to Pratiksha for the presentation of HEC. Like I said, that is a school in Belgium, or this one we can pass, Pratiksha, thank you, which is a school that is based in Belgium, has opened a branch in Luxembourg in association with the Luxembourg Chamber of Commerce. And I pass the word to you, Pratiksha.
Thank you so much, Pascal. Those insights have definitely been helpful, and I always resonate to them very closely. Because I, being an expat, when I came into this country, exactly that was the feeling. So, of course, now definitely I'm someone who really enjoys being in Luxembourg. So hello everyone, I am Pratiksha. I followed my husband as a trailing spouse 4 years back then, and ever since I'm in love with Luxembourg. So here I'm now currently working as a recruiting manager at HEC Liège, Luxembourg. And so while the brand is pretty known in Luxembourg and greater region, but I'll still give you a quick overview. HEC Liège was founded by the industry, basically a school by the industry for bridging the gap of education and practice for the corporates. And now it's also a part of the University of Liège. And we have been trusted by more than 3,500 students across continents and have formed the largest business alumni network. In Luxembourg, we started operations last year in October, and we joined hands with Chamber of Commerce Luxembourg. And of course, we offer the highest quality education. So if you see, we have double-crowned AACSB, which is the highest American accreditation for the management schools, and the European ICWIS. And of course, being ranked by AACSB and ICWIS definitely validates the stamp of quality, high quality and a high assurance in the education system. Typically, the idea is to bridge the talent gap between the corporates and the industry, but it's also a very big energy tool to attract talent and motivated talent into the country, develop them, upskill them with the latest trends that's required for the workforce integration in the ecosystem. And of course, doing higher education through research has shown that you become well-rounded and versatile talent to get into and become more pluggable in the industry. And of course, the idea is to retain the talent in the country. So you continue to work, increase engagement, and grow with the company. As I mentioned, that we have a very big network of HEC alumni in Luxembourg, and of course, Benelux Business Network is huge. So the idea is also to keep it very close to the chest as the school grows, but also alumni are the ambassadors who globally will expand the brand name. And of course, we have quite a few flexibility that we don't follow any kind of particular intake cycles for any of our programs. So it's quite customizable and flexible for individuals to join. And so how can we help? That's where we are now. And of course, if you want to contact either one of us, here are our contact details. But we would love to take your questions pertaining just to understand, like, how can we be of help today? Thank you so much.
And I see that was already a first question while I was speaking from Adam. So perhaps we can go through that one. And I wanted to add something before to Alexandre, because I see that we have someone from Floripa. And I mentioned that I was living in the US, but I had an affiliate of my company in Floripa. So I visited there. So very nice to have someone from there as well. Hello there. So Adam's question was foreigners as workers or as citizen. Adam, could you perhaps explain a bit more what you wanted to know exactly?
Yes, in the statistics you were presenting over the demographics in Luxembourg over the years, I was wondering if that was a count of Luxembourg citizens or if it was all of the resident population of Luxembourg, both citizen and foreign workers.
Yeah, it's the latter. It's the count of all the people registered living in Luxembourg. If I do not have the number anymore, I don't know if Pratiksha has it, but the number of people coming from abroad every day, I believe, was just under 200,000. I'm not sure anymore. So putting in perspective, that's like a third of the population is commuting every day. and which is also kind of a problem sometimes because the freeways were never thought for so many people. So you usually have only 2 lanes. And so people are, for a commute that might be 30 miles or so, for 50, 60 kilometers, you see people stuck in traffic for over an hour and a half sometimes, yeah.
So when you say silent majority, you're talking about the input in terms of voting on in the elections in Luxembourg as well, then?
Yes. So it's even more complex than that. So you could, if we simplify, you have half of the population who are Luxembourgers who can vote, and you have the other half who's running businesses, doing things, running the economy, having a real impact and having needs, and they have no words to say. But then worse is amongst the Luxembourgers, depending on how you count, you have between 60 and 80% of people voting that are public servants, because the state has grown so much to just serve all the rest of the economy. So basically, those people really running the country are not the ones who get to vote most, which is sometimes a bit complicated for, like we have elections right now, can make things complicated for people that run for office, because you need to make everyone happy. You have different priorities, and the ones voting for you is not the whole population. There had been attempts also when this government, the previous one, which was the same coalition, wanted really to give more voting rights to non-Luxembourgers, and so there was a referendum organized, and unfortunately, today the word is it was poorly prepared, so the outcome was not the one expected back then. But the idea is that maybe one day we can have it again and try to adjust the system to this kind of reality that we have in Luxembourg.
So for Pascal, for the two of you, I think probably most people would want a little bit more detail about the program, because I think it was a pretty high level. I mean, like, I think it would be interesting to go into sort of like what someone might expect, you know, in terms of duration of the program, what is the class size? And I think the questions that I've gotten like before this, I mean, one of the things we mentioned in the description is about the internship possibilities. So I would assume most people here would really want to get into that level of substance.
Right. But maybe Pratiksha, you can go on. And I see there's also a related question asking about the MBA program. So in which city it happens, and also is it full-time, part-time program, and where is it based?
Just a second, sorry.
Maybe I can answer the second part of the question, which is the easy one in the meantime, Pratiksha, is that it's based in Luxembourg City. So our offices and also the premises where people can come is in Luxembourg Kirchberg. And we are basically, for those who might know what that is, you have the Luxembourg Chamber of Commerce, and inside of that building there is the House of Training, and we are inside of the House of Training on the first floor. We have our offices there, and so we can use the whole logistics and premises of the House of Training, which is pretty big thing for Luxembourg standards. And so we're just nearby European institutions.
Why don't we take it at a level, assuming no one in the conversation knows what the Luxembourg Chamber of Commerce is, and pull it back that far.
Okay, so basically there's an entity in Luxembourg that is helping economy through their businesses and entrepreneurs. So basically, if you run a business, you will automatically be a member of the Chamber of Commerce, like in any other country, except here it's automatic. You do not have a choice, you are a member. And then the Chamber of Commerce will literally be a force that is running to defend the interest of business development, of economy development, and of the businesses, whether it's the smaller ones or the bigger ones. And as such, they have set up a House of Training, which is an institution where there's all sorts of trainings, really from very simple ones to more advanced ones. And if you want, the crown jewel of this now is HEC Luxembourg, where we have MBA level programs, but also shorter ones, which we will go through now.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Pascal. So yeah, currently as Pascal mentioned, the flagship product of the university is International MBA certificate, but we also have high impact certificates pertaining to the demand, catering to the demand of from the industry. So we have Business Skills Booster certificate, which is a short-term 1-year program, private equity and other alternative certificates, which we have launched with Luxembourg Private Equity Association. It's also a 1-year program. It's a high impact certificate in private equity, and leading disruptive innovation certificate, which is again 6 months program with University of Liège, but it's also a certificate in innovation. And now we recently launched our FinTech certificate with Luxembourg House of FinTech. So these are a few high impact certificates, but our flagship is International MBA. So of course, MBA program comes in 2 formats. So one with the internship for people who are looking to find a foothold in the job market, but also someone who's already working here in Luxembourg or greater region, but still wants to accelerate in their career through MBA. So that's an MBA without internship. The complete duration of the program is 2 years. So there's a flexibility around that you customize whatever you want to choose, and you choose the speed of the program, but still more or less you're able to complete the program comfortably within 2 years. The classes happen at Chamber of Commerce, but mostly in the weekdays, evening, 6:30 to 9:30, that is outside the working hours. And that's a very unique point of this program, because you typically continue to work while you are learning. And it also provides you parapet for application of your learnings. So for example, you learn about a data model tonight in the class, and then you have your internship or your job where you can apply the learning. So it's very practical that way and productive. So as any MBA program, we do have core curriculum, but we also offer a very large range of electives, which cover from all the buckets, from leadership to digital transformation to entrepreneurship. So whatever is trending. So for example, now it's blockchain, AI, growth hacking. So anything which is around the technology is also a part of the MBA. But you also have a flexibility of how you want to choose electives and make the maximum out of the learning. So everything is very practical, and the best part is our faculty, who are amazing people from the industry, Pascal being one of them. And they've been working with the industry here, Luxembourg or greater region, but of course with more experience, more than 20 years of experience in the domain. And they help us support the learning ecosystem here at the school. So, so that's the glimpse of our program. So, and these are just a snippet of a very long list from the electives that we offer, and we kind of update it every year, depending on the demand and the trend from the industry.
Maybe, Patricia, we can leave this page on, and in the meantime, I'll read the questions for you, and then you can answer them. Sure. So we have a first one from Michael. Are there opportunities for online education through HEC or other Luxembourg universities? I live in the US and will for the foreseeable future. Online education is becoming quite normal in the US. Curious if it's picked up in Luxembourg as well.
So thank you for the question, Michael. Online education definitely is the trend in the market, but I would say we believe that, you know, a lot of things can be learned online, but not an MBA or a business education. So something which is really hands-on is something you still need to have face-to-face. But still, we have to manage the demand and the trend. So we are coming up with hybrid and online programs in AI and blockchain to start with. And but those are the only two programs that we will be launching next year that will be hybrid or online.
There's more in the pipe, by the way, but longer term. And the other thing is that some of the courses being very interactive. Even students are really happy when they can have the interaction with the faculty. Plus, meeting those faculty is a networking opportunity that should really be stressed because they are from the industry, and so you get to meet really straight away the right people for what you're planning on doing. Then we have a question from Colin. Is there an ability to convert the MBA certificate into a full master's diploma?
So MBA certificate is just the nomenclature. It is a full-fledged certificate which you get at the end of the 2 years. However, it is not a Bolognian master's. That means it doesn't end at the moment, because we just started operations in Luxembourg last year. So at the moment, we are still waiting for the Grand Duchy accreditation. But however, it's globally accepted because we are still AACSB and EQUIS accredited. So unless it definitely comes second level to the PhD program. But when I say it's not a Bolognian master's, means in case you apply for any government jobs within EU, that might be a concern that it might not be regarded as a master's. And in that case, you may have to go for an extra coursework of certain hours. But otherwise, this program is fully accredited, globally accepted. Even your credits can be accepted if you, supposing, start the program and will have to move back to US or any other country midway. Then being AACSB, you can approach any other AACSB accredited university, and your credits of the courses that you've finished can be migrated.
And we might add that the accreditations we have, there's 1% of MBAs in the world that have that, right?
Yes, exactly. So we are double crowned AACSB and EQUIS, and we are still in the pipeline for the AMBA.
Then we have a question from Ellen. Do you offer an HR program?
Well, Ellen, thank you so much for the question. But the way we have designed our MBA program is that we love to make it more holistic as a learning. So we don't, as the final title that you get is still an international MBA certificate with the concentration in respective fields. However, that's not mentioned on your main diploma or certificate that you get at the graduation. But through your transcripts, we try to assure that, you know, the elective choices that you make is in the HR bucket. And that showcases that your learning has been into HR. And that we've kept that flexibility because, you know, we have realized over the years that a lot of students, eventually when they start with a mindset of, okay, I'm going to be doing majors in HR. But by the time they graduate, they found their knack and affinity with finance or with marketing. And they end up choosing electives into that field. So it's easier then to give you an flexibility to choose from the a la carte. So you can make a total mismatch, or you can really focus on one stream and choose the electives.
Then we have a question from Johnny, and I think it's second by Douglas, which is, what is the cost for MBA program?
It's 29,000 euros. The fees is for the 2 years, complete 2 years, possibly to be paid in installments. This is for MBA without internship. Now, when I talk about the MBA with internship, the internship aspect is internship is paid in Luxembourg for the duration of 6 to 9 months. It's a guarantee from the institution that we support you in finding the possible internship that you're looking for. So typically we start with your resume building, grooming you for the interview, preparing you, and then pitching for you to get you the first round of screening. So that's a support that we as a university try to provide you continuously. And once you have an internship offer, we also do a tri-party agreement with the company, ourselves, and you as a candidate. That supports you also that you are a part of the institution, but also for the company, it's also an assurance of the quality that you come for. So the duration of the internship is 6 to 9 months, depending on the contract that you get. But it's also at times, some candidates don't find their internship very befitting to their career goals. Then we also help them find another round of internship. Most of our internships gets converted into full-time offers. So that's the big win of the internship program. And the cost of the program is 39,000 euros. An average stipend you can expect around 1,700 euros per month, and as higher as 2,800 euros per month. So typically, you earn back almost half of the fee structure from these internships. And of course, there's a very high possibility of this conversion of the internship into a full-time contract.
I think it might be relevant to just to clarify and close the loop that it's 29,000 without the internship and 39,000 with the internship is what.
Yes, perfect. Yes.
And then you can also add that you saw there was different programs. So basically those programs like FinTech program and others are shorter, but they're built using the same building blocks as in the MBA. So the same courses is basically you just select a few of them. And we see some students, for instance, starting with that, and then later on moving to an MBA. And obviously what they've done as part of one of those programs will also be, they will get the credits for it if they go for an MBA. So they do not need to do it twice, of course.
Yes, exactly. If you see this program slide, I'm sure if you can see it properly. Sorry. Yeah. So we see that like disruptive innovation management is a part or is the full certificate that we do, but we also engage people who don't want to do an MBA. So it's not necessarily that you always have to become a part of the MBA to do these courses. And similarly, the FinTech is also a combination of AI, blockchain, and a few other courses so everything is a part of the full MBA program. So if you enroll for the MBA program, you have all of this comes as a package. But nevertheless, the other products are also byproducts of the main MBA program. So that's right.
Then we have a question from Douglas. Are Brazilian higher education degrees accepted, or does it need to be a degree recognized by Luxembourg Ministry of Education?
So far, it's accepted. We have not seen any challenges with that. It depends that your bachelor's should definitely count for 60 credits. So once I have the transcript, then we typically validate that, seeing that the mandatory courses are to be done, or if an apostille will be required. So that's something when we proceed with the application, that's when we confirm. But so far we've had students from Brazil as well, and no issues on that.
Maybe I'll jump to Colin's question that is related before going to the fellow's question here. What are the entry requirements for interested candidates?
Okay, so typically what we look is the bachelor's degree minimum for 3 to 4 years of bachelor's degree, which can also comprise of bachelor's in commerce, bachelor's in literature. So even it's not necessarily that you need to have a bachelor's in business, and that's the important part. So even if you have been pursuing music and you've done a bachelor's in that, we do account, but of course, we substantial work experience to support your knowledge base. So minimum 2 years of work experience, and not necessarily that you have to be working in the same domain as your education. We'd prefer to have English medium of education that you have done. In case not, then we would need a score of IELTS and TOEFL.
Then we have a question from the feller. Are hours, credits, or other type of value earned per course? Are core and elective courses of the same value? How many are required for the certificate?
So we do have, so the MBA certificate comprises of 60 EU credits for MBA without internship and 70 EU credits for MBA with internship. Internship in itself is a 10 credit course that we, at the end of the internship, we expect a report and that's evaluated. Core and elective, it depends on the contact hours. So we do have a differentiation of a program, of a course starting from 15 hours, 24 hours, and 36 hours. So if it's a 15-hour course, it is for 2 credits, 24 hours, 3 credits, 36 hours, 5 credits. Now, most of our cores are ranging from 5 credits or 3 to 5 credits, basically 3 or 5. Elective is again an a la carte, so you have 2 credits, 3 credits, 5 credits. The core component of the certificate usually has 47 credits. So you have to mandatory complete 47 credits and 13 as the credits that you need to do from the elective. However, we encourage students to do more than 13 credits and go around 20 credits because we would want to have students engaging in our new classes as well. So that's definitely the kind of advantage that we would like to give to our own students.
Then we have a question from Adam. And I also see that Alexander is asking if you can see if we can open the mic. So of course we can do, perhaps we do it afterwards, but yes, of course. So Adam is asking disruptive innovation. You said it was from Liège. Does that mean the courses are delivered in Liège or are they delivered in Luxembourg? So just to confirm what I said or rectifies, we're a 50% affiliate of HEC in Liège, but we're an independent entity in Luxembourg. So we're basically a joint venture between HEC Liège and the Luxembourg Chamber of Commerce. Based in Luxembourg, we're a Luxembourg entity and everything happens in Luxembourg.
Yes, that's right. Most of our maximum courses happen face-to-face in Luxembourg at Chamber of Commerce. However, we academically regulated by HEC Liège. So all the degrees will be co-stamped by HEC Liège and University of Liège. That's what we meant. And of course, so when I said maximum courses, means the business simulation at times, that's also a 5-credit course here. That at times happens in Liège or closer to Liège, where both sides of the faculties engage. And that's a fun business simulation game that we host in collaboration with Liège. But of course, we do share our faculty between Liège and Luxembourg. So that's, of course, the change we try to do.
And we have a question from Margaret. Is there university housing or any assistance finding housing? Is family housing available for spouses both enrolled in the program? Is there any assistance finding childcare or children of enrolled students, for children of enrolled students?
So at the moment, no, but of course our team is more than helpful to help you find those kinds of accommodation or make the right connections with the relocation partners or so forth. And since we are a very small team, we work as a very tight-knit community. So I'm sure we can find that kind of support if we see that demand.
Yes, it's like a family. We really accompany our students and do everything we can to introduce them with the right people or help them in that regard. There's even a few startups now that have specialized in helping people to find accommodations with other inhabitants. So wherever we can, we help.
Yes, and I think we also provide a lot of support in the local integration. So if you are someone who's trying to find your own set of people, say, for example, you're a hiker and you love hiking, so we would try to help you find the right group. So that's a kind of course, that's not a part on the prospectus, but it's like we try to be more human and be a part of the community. So we support that.
Yes. I believe also, Daniel, this is being recorded, so you can see afterwards also the slides again, where you have also a few elements, and you have our emails notably, so you can feel free to reach out to us. You have Pratiksh's number, you have our emails, and we'll be very, very happy to answer any questions you have or help you wherever we can, of course. And to the point Alexander was making, yes, Luxembourg is a founding member of Europe, Benelux was really a bit the core and has been a driving force of Europe and still is, even if it's one of the smallest countries.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll jump then to the other questions. A few more came in. As part of qualification for the program, is something like a GRE or GMAT, etc. exam required?
We have waived off that requirement. We don't need any GRE or GMAT. What we consider is that we look for substantial work experience. So the more you have experience is something that we definitely are happy about to consider in your application. But however, in your application, there are other components like recommendation letter or motivation letter that also supports your application and help us determine the best candidate for the program.
So can we provide a link? So if you scroll down, you will see Pratiksha has added the link to the website with all the information. And then we have Margaret asking, do you have active internship partnership in sustainable finance field?
Yes, we do have a course in sustainable finance, and but then I'm not sure if you're asking that if you just want to do a course and look for an internship, because that's not what we are currently offering. It's a part of the MBA program. So if you enroll, you have to be part of the MBA with internship program. And within that, yes, we can look for an internship opportunity in sustainable finance.
Maybe it's interesting to talk about the kind of companies or positions that are industries for the internships, let's say.
Sure, it depends on the profile of the candidate, but of course, most of the candidates also look for career shift. So we do have a range of profiles that we look for: program management, engineering, manufacturing, space technology, food innovation. We have scientists. We've had doctors in the past, army professionals who took a voluntary retirement and looking to open up something of their own. So entrepreneurs, consultants. And so, of course, we have to find companies that really can absorb these kinds of profiles. So we definitely work with the Big Four, but we also work with law firms here, which is very big sector here in Luxembourg. Then we also work with marketing agencies, and of course, HR and other verticals also become a part of it. So IT, manufacturing, legal, all of them are pretty popular fields that people look for, apart from finance, of course, nevertheless to mention, but chartered accountants and company secretariats, these are also very interesting profiles that companies look for, because it's also that with a brush up training of, say, EU law system, they are ready to go into the Luxembourg market. And of course, taxation, audit are always the favorites of Luxembourg.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, having said before, one of our big shareholders is the Chamber of Commerce in Luxembourg. Every business in Luxembourg, every company is a member of the Chamber of Commerce. So that obviously allows us to really have access to an incredible network. So it's relatively easy for us to reach out to any business that will be related to that particular field that the student is pursuing or interested in, including, like we mentioned, space. So whoever says, I'm going to go there, then we will be able to really bring these people in touch and help them connect with the right businesses.
And if it also inspires people to come to Luxembourg, we do have a lot of breweries. We do have the big wine industry. And of course, a lot of opportunities are available there in terms of manufacturing operations. So I think that's also great here.
Yeah, that's true.
So we leave it to the one final question about like kind of what are the qualifications for and the process for application into the program in a little bit more detail.
Sure. So I've also shared the link to the website. All the application forms are available on the website. However, you can reach us as well through our emails, and we can share the application form. So you need to complete the application. For the MBA program, we definitely need a motivation letter, a form to be completed, recommendation letters, and if you're applying for scholarship. However, we don't offer a huge group, section of scholarship, but it's also a small percentage to keep you motivated that we encourage students to apply for. So that's something you can definitely take advantage of when you apply. And you can send us your completed application form duly signed with an application fee of €100 via email.
And is the GRE or the GMAT required?
No, as I mentioned, we have waived off that criteria if the education has not been completed in English. That's when we will require IELTS and TOEFL. And I also saw one question in the bike rack that just it's CRS hours.
While you're looking that up, Pratiksha, one thing to add also, as we work with Luxembourg businesses, we, for instance, launching our program where they will even tell us what kind of profiles they're looking for, and then when we have students that are fit, we introduce them.
Yeah, I think that's very important point that you brought up, Pascal. So it's like you looking for a program and then the company looking for the right candidate, and we try to make the bridge as well. So that kind of program also. So there was this question that existing master's degree, is there an entry criteria waived for them? So definitely if you have done a master's, you still can apply. But I'm not sure that what you're looking for is a waiver here, but there will be a substitution of courses that you might have covered in your master's program that might be similar in MBA. So we definitely will look for substitution and will provide support there.
Maybe this last question is pretty relevant. What's the timeline after application to decision?
It's very short. I would say within 20 days, we try to move. Of course, it also depends on the holidays. If we are functioning, I would say 20 days is the maximum lead time that we take to close an application.
Great. All right. Well, I think in consideration of everyone's time, we can probably call it here. I want to thank everyone for participating. We're definitely going to be sending an email with a link to the video, as well as I will circle back with the team here to get the most relevant links, and we will send that to everyone via email. You will also have their email addresses so that you will be able to get in touch directly with them. And I know that they are both, and the whole HEC Liège Luxembourg team would be very interested in helping the dual citizens that are interested in making them to Luxembourg.
Absolutely. That might be my final word, is that we're here to see how we can help Luxembourg, not only as a business, but also as a society. And we believe that goes through helping businesses and the people. So that is very, very high on our priority list.
Great. All right, so thank you to the two of you for the time to join us today, and hopefully we'll have the opportunity to continue some interesting conversations.
And hopefully we see you soon in Luxembourg.
In the meantime, enjoy your Saturday, everyone, whether that's the morning or the evening. Take
Have
care.
a very nice weekend. Thanks for joining. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.